Another exciting David Pollack show. We're going to be talking about all kinds of crazy stuff today, from presidential immunity to whether or not they're replacing Biden and weather fake news. So stick around because it's going to be a fun show.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
We don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living room. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad.
Wait a minute. You ain't heard nothing yet. Wait a minute, I tell you. You ain't heard nothing.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
I'm mad as hell and I'm not gonna take it anymore!
I'm mad as hell! I'm not going to take it anymore!
I'm mad as hell and I'm not gonna take it anymore!
I'm mad as hell!
I'm mad as hell and I'm not gonna take it anymore!
All right, guys, welcome to another exciting David Pollack show featuring my stuffed, felted friend, Puppet Carlson. We got an exciting show for you tonight. We're going to be talking with one of my new favorite, smartest lawyers, TJ Roberts. He's coming on. We have hung out in spaces, and I've learned a lot from him about a lot of things. And today, of course, the Supreme Court dropped an immunity bomb that has the Democrats freaking out. Has Joe Biden, I didn't even get to see because I was preparing for the show. I'm going to have to find out what he was talking about. Apparently just probably threatening Trump more. I'm going to find out here in a minute.
Probably said, you know what, since you got immunity, I'm going to. Yeah, exactly. And I can do anything I want. I'm going to take you down.
Exactly. So we'll talk to TJ and find out what he thinks about everything. It was a long opinion. Well, it wasn't that long. It's a couple hundred pages. It's a little shorter than any bill, certainly. So we're going to talk about that. Of course, after the disastrous debate last week, there have been rumors that, we're going to get rid of Biden and replace him with Gavin Newsom or Michelle Obama or Michael Obama or whatever. So that's going on. Yeah, so we're going to find out if that is if there's any legitimacy to that with our panel. We got a special panelist tonight, by the way, Puppet. Our dear friend Allie is unavailable, so we have a surprise panelist that I'm not going to tell you who it is until she's here.
I like that.
Yeah, and then we're going to talk about hurricanes and fake weather news because, of course,
I love that. I love
it. Yeah, because it's summer and there's hurricanes, so that just must mean it's climate change.
Must be climate change.
You know, it snows outside, it's climate change. It rains outside, it's climate change. It hails, it's climate change. It doesn't rain, it's climate change. It doesn't snow, it's climate change. It's hot, it's climate change. It's cold, it's climate change. It's always climate change, and of course there's a hurricane, and the fake news media, and I have some clips for you calling it, oh my gosh, it's June and there's a hurricane. This is very unprecedented. So we're going to talk about that. So
I have a X tweet reply on climate change that's blowing up.
Blowing up like that guy in Home Depot who got arrested.
Not that blowing up. And not like blowing up a bathroom in Home Depot.
That's
either.
what I'm talking about.
No. Yeah. This is like it's going. I have a 3-point rebuttal to the Democrat climate change.
You're getting pretty smart there, and you're getting pretty crafty with your paws, typing up them tweets.
I know my paws have been working overtime on the keyboard.
Oh, all right. Well, without further ado, what do you say we bring in Sir Master TJ?
Let's bring him in.
All right.
I mean, it's about time he met Puppet Carlson. That's right.
Yeah. Welcome to the show, TJ. How are you, my friend?
Doing well, David. Thank you for having me on.
No, it's my pleasure. Thanks for joining because, we're talking in Spaces this morning. Here's the thing. We talk a lot in Spaces, Nick's Order Spaces, and I think it was Mario's Space today. You're way smarter than me. And so the cool part is
That's not hard, guys.
yeah, no, it's a low bar.
The guys, the people in the space know.
Yeah, they know. So you're always bringing like the real legal knowledge, and I'm like the color commentator. So you're like talking very specific case law, and I'm like, yeah, but Biden sucks, and everyone's like, good thing we have lawyers on this panel. So when we were talking today, I was really excited.
Kind
to
of
have
like
you
you
on.
and me on the show, where I'm like giving the good stuff, and you're like, yeah, it sucks.
No, you're the color commentator on this show. I'm the smart one in this show. You're the dummy. You're the dummy. I'm the smart one.
Okay, so at
Just
least
know
you're
your role.
somebody's dummy.
I'll put you in the trunk. You're not going to like it. You're going in the trunk.
You're TJ's dummy.
You're going in the trunk.
He's like, shut up.
You're going in the trunk. So TJ, big news today, right? So we've been waiting for this immunity ruling. And if we have time, we'll talk about everything else that's been coming out. The Supreme Court has been, I like the Supreme Court. I've never found it exciting. The Supreme Court was exciting today, right? So what happened today, TJ?
I mean, in many ways, the court just upheld its immunity doctrines that they have had for decades and in some ways centuries. They just made it clear that that immunity doctrine applies to the criminal context too. They held that for your core official acts as president, the president enjoys absolute immunity. And then for your more tangentially related to your official duties, from there, they have to actually do the work that a court is supposed to do, decide whether or not you are acting as the president or if you are acting as a private individual. From there, you are immune completely and totally if it is an official act, or if it is just a private act, there's no immunity. So it really was just a common sense decision that the left loves to engage in low IQ, bad faith fear mongering over. And truly, I mean, you can see how bad it was if you look specifically to how Justice Roberts pointed out that the dissenters are just engaged in straight up fear mongering. The concerns that they have, the majority opinion does not actually allow those concerns to ever come to fruition. If it did, the majority would have gone the other way. And I mean, so really, in many ways, it's nothing new under the sun, but it is extremely newsworthy because we're talking about probably one of the biggest blows to the lawfare that we have seen since Friday, because we had the big January 6th decision, Fisher versus the United States. But we're seeing it, and it's backfiring in the electoral capacity as well, and just shows the desperation of the left because they are truly grasping at straws right now. If this is this is how we're going to get people not to vote for the Republican in November.
Yeah, so and I want to unpack this a little bit more, and because we're gonna have to dumb it down for Puppet because this is way above his head. His head's made of a MyPillow, by the way, and I'll tell you that story later. So, did you catch what Biden's remarks were, by the way? Because I wanted to see them before.
I did, and I mean, he couldn't make it 3 minutes without a blunder because this was past his on the clock time of 10 a.m. to 4
He's
p.m.
sunsetting.
Right. So he mostly read from the teleprompter, and he talked about Sotomayor's dissent, and he finished by saying "end of quote."
Did he really?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And I mean,
come on.
Not even 30 seconds into the decision, he just straight up lies about the opinion, says that, well, the presidency is now a dictatorship, and I'll never let the presidency be a dictatorship under my watch, as he's actively imprisoning his political opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Actively decrying the Supreme Court's decisions that actually do limit the executive branch, like the overturning of Chevron. So it's amazing how the advocates for an unfettered executive branch are upset about the one time that the executive branch got a win. And the reason why is, look, if this was about whether Barack Obama enjoyed criminal immunity for drone bombing an American citizen in 2011, which he did do, by the way, or when he drone bombed a hospital in 2015, which he did do, by the way, and the Supreme Court held exactly the same way that they held it here, there would be celebrations in the streets by the left. So it's plainly has nothing to do with the substance of the decision. It is entirely just about who is theoretically enjoying immunity here. There's only one part of the indictment that the Supreme Court said clearly this needs to be dismissed. The other part, they punted it down to the lower court to say, you guys need to parse this out and figure it out. And depending on how you rule, we'll go through the appellate process again. So it was actually a very level-headed decision. It's frankly exactly what I expected out of the Roberts court, not the Roberts, the John Roberts court.
It could be your court. We can call this the Roberts court. Actually, that's what we're going to call this segment. We're going to call this segment the Roberts court. I have a dog in my studio that is barking. Like literally, this is the conditions I have to work under.
Hey, that's fine. I have a boxer at home, so.
Yeah. So
I mean, I have to listen to you, and these are the conditions I have to work in.
That's true. That's true.
Terrible. I'd rather have a dog. That's for sure.
Well, same pause. So here's the deal. Biden, and then I'm going to get back to this because there's a lot of interesting things that I want to talk about with the decision. So Biden comes out, and we talked about this on the space today too, because Sotomayor's dissent was like, well, we have the criminal justice system, and we can't really trust this idea that the president has immunity, because what if the president would just go and commit all these crimes and get SEAL Team 6 to go and kill people? And there's this whole idea that the left is saying that because the president has immunity, he's going to be a bad guy. And that is the funny like sort of assumption that we don't trust the government, we don't trust the president, but they don't trust the government or the president so much that they don't want the president to have immunity. It doesn't make a lot of sense, because we have to assume that the president of the United States is going to act in the best interest of the United States, right? And so you have to assume, not this one, but most presidents of the United States are going to act with the United States interest. So they're not going to get SEAL Team 6 to go and assassinate. Now, but Joe Biden might lock up a political prisoner. But the thing is, there is no official function for getting SEAL Team 6 to kill your political opponent. So that whole analogy is stupid. But that being said, the distrust that they have towards just this President Trump, not President Biden, President Trump, that is the whole basis of the dissent, is that we don't trust President Trump to have this immunity. We want everybody else to have this immunity. We don't want President Trump to have this immunity. And that is the whole basis of dissent. And that's the whole basis of what you just told me Joe Biden just said is we can't trust Trump to have immunity. Why? Because they want to put him in jail, and they can't, and they're pissed, right? Am I missing something, TJ?
No, that's exactly it. They just want to put Joe Biden in prison, and
Donald
that's
Trump
the thing.
in prison.
Donald Trump.
Yeah,
I mean, I do want to put.
I want to put Joe Biden in
We
prison.
all want to
Sorry.
put Joe
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, they just want to put
I'll start
Donald
with
Trump
Hunter.
in prison.
I'll start with Hunter in prison. I mean, let's just start there.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing, though, is like if these guys were actually serious about not trusting the executive branch, they would do things like limit the size of the government in the first place. Maybe not put us $35 trillion in debt. They would weaken the the agencies that the president controls. Maybe they would be voting against. They'd be voting against this current president who has grown the executive branch. And further, they'd be celebrating the death of Chevron deference, because that is practically the death of the administrative state. They'd be celebrating the Seventh Amendment right to a jury trial. In the civil context, they'd be celebrating these decisions that weaken the executive branch, but they're not. And in fact, they're the biggest voices of dissent to the times where the executive branch has been weakened. And further, finally, if they actually believed in limiting government, and if they actually didn't trust the executive branch, they would be Second Amendment absolutists, and they're not, because that is our final resort on it. They disregard every single protection that is had from an overarching federal government. And frankly, the court got it right. Look, I'm a skeptic of the immunity doctrines myself. I believe that qualified immunity, unless you're acting pursuant to a split-second decision, probably shouldn't exist in general. I've signed my name to a cert petition trying to get qualified immunity overturned in the Supreme Court of the United States. The Supreme Court unfortunately disagreed with me and didn't grant cert, but I've done it before, and I'm sure I'm going to do it again. It's one of those issues where I think that is an immunity doctrine that's pretty bad. I've also litigated legislative speech or debate immunity in the Supreme Court as well, and the Supreme Court held speech or debate immunity way further than I would have gone. So I'm a skeptic of immunity doctrines writ large, but when we're talking about the executive branch, we're talking about the sole executive, mind you, when we're talking about the president of the United States, the notion that he has to be worried about facing criminal prosecution once he leaves office for actions he takes while president, while at least tangentially related to his duties, that's outrageous. And the founding fathers specifically referenced the need for an energetic executive branch, specifically in Federalist 70. Now, look, if you wanted to actually limit it, just respect the separation of powers and make it to where the president can't engage in lawmaking. So it doesn't really matter who the president is. But they're never going to do that. They just want to get Trump, as Letitia James and Alvin Bragg campaigned on.
Papa, what do you think about that?
You know, I've been thinking about this whole case in general, and you said something interesting. I won't give you too much credit because it's
Who, I
not
did?
often that you
I
you
said
did.
something.
You,
You
oh,
said
you,
I,
yeah, you
all
said
right.
the left side is all about this. Oh, this is going to give them too much power, and now you can like kill your political opponent. It's fine. But as you said, the people vote the president in. The people are hopefully voting in someone with A, goodwill toward the country, and B, is not a criminal who's going to bomb its own citizens. Now, sometimes you get sometimes you think you're voting that way, but then you get someone like Biden who might actually be doing exactly that. But I think that when you expect someone to have goodwill, and they do have goodwill, and you have to elect someone president, for the populace to elect someone president, there has to be enough people that think that person has goodwill toward the country and its citizens. And if that's the case, then this immunity decision here, which, as TJ was telling us earlier, is just upholding a decision that's been on the books for forever. This is nothing new, and nobody should be surprised. And the president is going to have to make decisions in the course of action that may not, that may, if, in some kind of court of law, could be deemed inappropriate or illegal, or, that's Obama bombing a citizen with a drone. Like, this is not necessarily what you want your president to be doing. But sometimes in the course of action, in the course of war, in the court, these things happen. And they have to be held, they can't be held accountable to that same degree. Otherwise, no one would take the job other than a criminal.
So yeah, I mean, and that's sort of the concern we have here, right? The concern is, do we trust the president or not? Now, I know, TJ, when I said this earlier, you were like, no. but at the end of the day, the idea of this immunity, and this is what I think we were talking about earlier, is it's the idea that when the president is serving in their official capacity, and there was some language that we pulled out earlier when we were talking about this, and I want to bring it up to the viewers, and you guys don't have to read the whole thing like TJ did, but the key is whether or not the president has this immunity hinges on this official versus unofficial actions, right? And so the question then becomes, what's official and unofficial? And this is, I think, the key component in why I think all the prosecutions fall apart, TJ, and tell me if I'm wrong. Because now, and this is what they said it's difficult to determine what an official versus an unofficial function is because of the innumerable functions of the president of the United States. So what they're saying is the president of the United States does so many different things that it's hard to tell what's official and not official. Is it an unsanctioned drone attack in a foreign country official or unofficial? I don't know. Is calling the Secretary of State in Georgia and asking whether or not they had fraud after an election, is that official or unofficial? I don't know. I think it sounds more official than unsanctioned drone bombing. So that is the question. Then the second thing they said is, we're not even going to look into the motives of the president because it would be highly intrusive. We don't want to have to second guess everything he does, or is he going to be subject to criminal prosecution? So basically what they're saying is, it's a pretty broad, I guess, scope, right, TJ?
It's extremely broad. And once again, it's extremely broad, but it's still nothing new. So when we talk about the part where it says you can't analyze the state of mind of the president, that's just based off of our qualified immunity doctrines. When you're talking about Harlow versus Fitzgerald, whether an agent is entitled to qualified immunity only depends upon the following factors. First and foremost, whether a constitutional rights violation occurred. And then second, whether that constitutional right was clearly established at the time of the offense. it's an objective test. I disagree with it because you can't find anywhere in the Constitution or the statutes that confer qualified immunity, but it's at least objective. At least I can track the logic of it, right? Everything else on it, this was just nothing new. It's just being applied to an unpopular public figure. And by the way, when you're talking about the decisions whether or not whether or not it's an official act or not to drone strike an American citizen without due process, without an arrest warrant, without a criminal conviction, without a death sentence, because that's sentencing him to death. They actually held it was an official duty, and it was Al-Awlaki versus Obama, decided in the District Court of Washington, D.C. It never got appealed. I would have liked to have seen it taken up on appeal because I do think that the president does not have the authority to murder American citizens because the president himself and himself alone deems them to be a threat. Now, look, Al-Awlaki, not exactly a favorable set of facts. His dad was a leader in Al-Qaeda, not a great dude. But at the same time, you're not your father, right? And reality is, put him on trial if you think he's involved with it. He's an American citizen. He's entitled to those rights. But even then, the Supreme Court held that's an official deed. So on that decision alone, at least President Obama can rest easy knowing that those times that he murdered American citizens without a trial, well, he's good to go on those. And that might be calls for reform on it, but it's a double-edged sword. Now, when you're talking about, so that's the entire thing. This case, truly, it's nothing new. The only thing that's new is that it's being applied to President Trump, and as a result, it's a threat to our democracy. As if state-sanctioned murder wasn't a threat to a constitutional republic. But
Yeah, well, and that's right, and I'm sure you've heard this, that bad facts make bad law. And,
yes,
and that's sort of what we're seeing. But at the same time, if it weren't for the Supreme Court acting in this case in the manner they did, and it might be settled law, but the fact that they said, "Hey, you can't prosecute President Trump the way you want to about all of these things," and by the way, he has this broad immunity, and it's almost unlimited. And with certain, again, they're going to say SEAL Team 6. It's almost unlimited power as long as he's acting at least in the perception of his official capacity. I think this stops all the lawfare in its track. I mean, certainly he can't be prosecuted in Georgia for calling Georgia if that was an official duty. They can't prosecute him for a federal crime in a state where it's not a crime. So they can't do that. I think the DC case is definitely gone, right? The January 6th case. I think arguably, I think the classified documents case is going to have a lot of problems, not even in addition to the evidentiary issues. But you can argue that President Trump took those classified documents to Mar-a-Lago because he didn't have a presidential library, and that was an official act, and him not turning it over could have been the extension of an official act because he didn't believe he had to based on legal advice. You can use the immunity argument there. And you can even, if you really want to stretch it, you go to New York, and you can say that it was Trump's official capacity when he became president in some way to, was he already elected when he paid Stormy Daniels? I don't even remember.
he was not elected when the payment happens, but the filing of the business documents was after he became president.
So maybe that was an official duty. I'm not saying, I don't know if I'd stretch it that far, but the point I'm getting at is I think a lot of the motivation to prosecute Trump is going to have to fall to the wayside at this point because two reasons. One, you saw the debate, and Biden has oatmeal coming out of his ears, and we're going to talk about that after the break. And second, now that he's been found to have immunity, I don't think the public is going to have a lot of patience for any more of these political prosecutions. And I think that's the thing that really benefits Trump out of this, right?
I think that's correct in large part. Now, no one's out of the woods yet because the courts haven't ruled on whether it's all official acts or not. But if you read the tea leaves of how the Supreme Court read it off, they were official acts on pretty much everything but the New York case and the classified documents cases were touched on in these cases. The classified documents case is probably an official act, at least for keeping the documents. The parts afterwards is a little bit iffy, but once again, you said there's an argument to be made, and same thing with the presidency one. Like, here's a question that maybe the court will have to wrestle with. Would you really want the president of the United States worried about criminal prosecution over his private business filing from before he was president? Right? So, and worried about criminal prosecution for that, for a filing that's happening while he's president? Do you really want him to take a stand outside of the White House to make sure that that book is correctly filed? I mean, I know we're perfectly fine with Joe Biden going to Camp David for 10 days and doing debate prep. I mean, it makes sense given that Jill Biden and Barack Obama are the unelected presidents right now. But
Dr. Jill.
that
Dr. Jill.
see, I won't even call her that sarcastically. Um,
Yeah.
but
Well,
that's a
I'm just
question that's
suggesting.
going to have to. Sure, but that's a question that we're going to have to that they are going to have to wrestle with. And look, there's an argument to be made, and yeah, it's pretty much done. And the thing is, the lawfare, it was backfiring on Joe Biden even before. I mean, it. I mean, one of the things that put the biggest sour in like, not only am I an attorney, I'm also the Republican nominee for state representative in Kentucky House District 66. One of the things that really put a sour taste in in the mouth of the people was the fact that my opposition was actively trying to sue me and two other candidates off the ballot based off of the fact that I lost my house to a fire last year. They tried to use that to invalidate my residency. They failed, obviously, because you can rebuild a house, and the law is pretty clear that intent to return and all that legal mumbo jumbo. But long story short, Americans are sick and tired of their tax dollars going toward political escapades, and it needs to stop. And frankly, I I kind of wish that they had done what Clarence Thomas did and just in his concurring opinion just straight up said the special counsel is unconstitutional, because it is. And further, there's no real statutory authorization of it either. And even if there was, I don't think the statute would be constitutional because of the appointments and confirmation clause of the Constitution.
Now, you said something I want to follow up on a little bit real quick because you talk about the classified documents case. And interestingly, what if now he's president of the United States, and as president of the United States, he decides, I need to modify this ledger in order to protect the national security of the United States, because should this go out, it could potentially make us vulnerable at the executive. Then that would be an official act, right?
It would.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it plainly would.
Yeah.
And I mean, and further, there's an easier way out of it as well. I mean, the
Just
pardon
just
power.
appeal the case that couldn't have been brought. Yes, there is an easier way.
Well, no, not even that. The pardon power is an unreviewable political
True.
question. The courts don't step in on political questions. It is a power solely delegated to the president. It's similar to impeachment, a power solely given to Congress. The courts have no right to step in the way of either of those. And frankly, President Trump could pardon himself. There's nothing that could stop that. I mean, once you're president, it's done. That's
Even in
just
state court, he can pardon himself in the state.
no, no, no. I was talking about federal.
No, okay.
It's only for federal crimes. That's a separation of powers and federalism issue. But for state court, no. But also, I would argue that that's where you get into the absolute immunity as a sitting president. Of, are we really going to make the sitting president sit for a criminal trial while he is the president?
Yeah. Well, and of course they're not going to, because it'll just make him more powerful. But all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a quick break, right? Got to play our commercials, have a little fun, pay some bills. And when we come back, I'm going to bring in our all-star panel tonight. Of course, we have Heather McIsaac, Heather, Liberty Valkyrie, and a special surprise panelist. So we'll find out who that is after the break. You're going to stick around with us, and we're going to have some fun. We're going to talk about Joe Biden and fake weather news. That sound good?
Absolutely.
Sounds great.
Well, don't go anywhere, guys. We're going to be right back after these commercials.
David Pollock here. If you're craving the best soft serve ice cream around, Topper's Creamery's got you covered. Serving the Apopka community for over a decade, Toppers is known for the finest old-fashioned custard-style soft-serve ice cream in a variety of flavors, from their French vanilla bean to exciting specials like German chocolate cake. But the experience doesn't end there. Be sure to grab a fresh baked waffle cone or a sundae topped with my favorite, the fresh baked brownies. They even offer pup cups for your four-legged friends. So hurry in to Toppers Creamery in Apopka, South 512 Hunt Club Road. Make sure to tell them David sent you.
With today's economic environment, it's never been more important to secure your hard-earned wealth for you and your family's future. FinSec Life works to offer industry-leading customer service to help successful individuals and businesses protect their wealth. Whether it's a business succession plan, estate liquidity, or a variety of life and long-term care policies, FinSec Life can help deliver peace of mind, knowing that if something happens, you or your company is taken care of. Visit finseclife.com. That's FINSEC life.com. Securities offered through Valmark Security Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Valmark Advisors Inc., an SEC-registered investment advisor. FinSec Life is a separate entity from Valmark Securities Inc. and Valmark Advisors Inc.
Business owners, are you sick of dealing with those big-name telecommunications companies that leave you frustrated with terrible customer service and then lock you into long-term contracts? That's why I want to introduce you to my friends over at Public Telephone Company. They are an industry-leading VoIP provider offering all-in-one business communication solutions that are completely contract-free with competitive pricing. But perhaps the best part, they're all about supporting their customers with U.S.-based customer service, and they're always willing to go the extra mile. Don't let your phone company drive you mad. Call Public Telephone Company today at 877-314-4080 or visit them at publictelephonecompany.com. That's publictelephonecompany.com.
So patriots, listen up. It's time to wake up and smell the freedom. Beard Vet Coffee is here to fuel your American spirit. This isn't just coffee. It's a battle cry in a cup, a declaration of love for the land of the free and the home of the brave. Crafted by the hands of those who've walked the walk, talked the talk, and, grown the damn beard. Vet-founded, vet-focused, and beard-operated. This is coffee with a mission, a purpose, and a testament to the unyielding American spirit. It's a tribute to the tireless resolve that courses through the veins of our great nation. This is the taste of victory, the flavor of freedom, the coffee that stands as firm as our belief in America's destiny to lead and never to kneel. Beard Vet Coffee is more than a brand. It's a legacy steeped in the principles that make America great. It's for those who stand with pride under the stars and stripes, who uphold the values that light the torch of liberty for the world to see. So, are you ready to supercharge your day the American way? Beard Vet Coffee is not just a choice. It's a declaration of independence from mediocre mornings. Bold, brave, unbound. Brewed for the American patriot. Beard Vet Coffee. Make your mornings great again.
I never feel so patriotic about coffee than I do after that ad, for sure. Hey, I want to tell you guys about our newest, greatest sponsor. And I think you might have remembered Amanda coming on our show from Raised Right Books. You see right here? Well, so they're our newest sponsor, and I love these books, guys. I don't know. I think we had a big space about it. A lot of my audience bought some. Amanda Elizabeth is her pen name, and these are great books. And what they are is they're basically books that have subtle conservative messages. So when you want to read your kids a bedtime story and you don't want to read them a story about a fish that's communist, you can go and get good, great illustrated books here, and you can actually teach your kids important things like subtly about how abortion really works and things like that. And here, save the sprouts. And it's not overt, it's subtle. And so if you want your kids to get good conservative messaging in entertaining books that are brilliantly illustrated, go check out Raised Right Books. You won't be disappointed. And speaking of Raised Right Books, we're going to bring in our panel at this point. Are you guys ready for the panel? And so I will bring in our guest panelists first. Amanda Elizabeth is joining us tonight. She is the author of Raised Right Books. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Last minute, I called you and said, hey, I had a cancellation. Want to come on the show? And she's like, sure. So
Nobody's more surprised about this surprise guest than me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yay, Amanda!
I think you were hanging out in our space too. And
Yes.
like, hey, I'm here. I'm like, no, you're not. So, and I'll bring in our next panelist. She's a regular on our show. She is America's favorite Liberty Valkyrie. She's Heather McIsaac, aka Heather. Heather, welcome to the panel, Heather.
Good evening, everybody.
So we have to have, and this is the thing, so we have to have balance, right? Because now we have 3 dudes, and we would have just had 1 girl. And although Heather can take care of herself, she's more than capable of picking off a couple of us with her rifle from a few hundred yards away. We like to have balance. We like to have the women's perspective on this show. And plus, I think the audience likes not hearing from me and Puppet, but TJ they like. He's new. So tonight we are going to.
They don't like hearing from you,
Well,
and
that's
that's
true.
why I've decided to bring balance.
No, you bring fluffy.
Yeah, because
cute
now
creativity.
we've got 2
Jesus.
puppets. Yeah.
Does Puppet have a puppet now?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I'm a ventriloquist. Go ahead, let me just show him.
All right.
It's terrific. The best ever. Orange Man is here. Orange Puppet Man. That's me.
I don't understand this.
I was great in the debate, and I'm great here.
Wait, hold
Terrific. Tremendous. Tremendous.
How is this possible? You're a puppet, right?
Yes, I am.
Puppet Carlson's a puppet. And
Yep.
somebody has to control your mouth, technically, if you weren't a
That's
real
right.
boy. How does your lips move when you do the puppet of the puppet? I don't understand that function.
Yeah, well, I got paws.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, all right.
That's
So-
it. That's how it works. Now we've got 2 puppets and 2 dudes and 2 ladies. We're ready to rock.
I guess, and 1 confused host who's questioning his life decisions. So there was a debate last week, and everybody watched it. I think I'm telling my grandkids it was called the Super Bowl. And I don't know. I've talked for hours about it. I think we saw the Joe Biden that we all hoped we would see. We saw the Donald Trump.
Real Joe Biden, not
the
the
real
fake
Joe
Joe
Biden, right? The Bacta tank Joe Biden. And we saw what we hoped we would see. And I think we all came away very happy because the Democrats were very upset. Now, I have for you a clip. Now, Jake Tapper, do you remember before the debates, everyone was saying Jake Tapper will not be fair because he called Trump a Nazi.
Because he's not fair. But
well, yeah.
yes.
Well, but now, this is Jake Tapper. Check this out.
Sure voters about his fitness for office. Biden campaign chair Jan O'Malley Dillon holding a call with party leaders earlier today, telling them this too shall pass. There is a discernible pattern of Democratic officials seemingly trying to convince you, the public, to not believe what you saw and what you heard with your eyes and with your ears on Thursday night.
What I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare, the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
Democratic officials have tried to spin this in many ways. They said President Biden just had a cold. They said it was just one off night, akin to when President Obama in 2012 was rusty and seemed a little huffy. But behind the scenes, make no mistake, most Democratic officials witnessed the same shocking spectacle that you did. The difficulty that the presumptive Democratic nominee, the current president of the United States, had just articulating his basic thoughts during the 90 minutes of the debate.
Now, hold on. There's one more of Jake Tapper. I mean, this is like full firestorm. Check it out.
With all due respect, it is not. With all due respect, it is not. It is not honest to say that this is just one night. There have been moments like this that people have seen in front of the cameras and other moments but with cameras not there. Just 2 weeks ago, let me just show this clip. There was another moment like this, not just a senior losing a train of thought, but something else going on Here he is. It was an event about immigration. He tries to introduce DHS Secretary Mayorkas, and there's some sort of glitch. I don't know what it is. Let's roll that tape.
Thanks to all the members of Congress and Homeland Security Secretary. I'm not sure I'm going to introduce you all the way. But all kidding aside, Secretary Mayorkas.
I don't know what that was.
That doesn't trouble me at all, Jake.
Doesn't trouble him at all. So, look, guys, if Jake Tapper is starting to wonder what's going on with Joe Biden, I mean, what does this mean, right? I don't know. I'll go to the ladies first. Heather, what do you think?
Well, I think that there's a couple things. I think that you have a very pissed off group of viewers who are waking up to the fact, I don't know, their head must have been in the sand the last 4.5, 5 years. But for the ones that are finally waking up and seeing Biden for who and what he is, Jake Tapper has a reputation to protect. After Biden leaves office, he still has to keep his job with his network, which means he needs to have viewers that are going to trust him and want to continue to watch him. Whereas anybody that's associated with Biden, once this campaign is done, they'll get picked up by some, nonprofit, they'll get picked up by some NGO. But Jake Tapper has a big choice to make in terms of protecting his career or protecting Biden. And as much as I think he's a D-bag, I am very happy about the fact that he is choosing to not go along with the left narrative and putting information as it should have been put out the last 5+ years.
No, it is interesting that all of a sudden the writing's on the wall. I think that they're sitting there like, oh crap, we have to be journalists now.
I thought we were going to the ladies.
I am. I'm tossing it. This is what hosts do, Puppet. I'm validating Heather's excellent point. You can't hear apparently because you have cotton in your ears. And then I was going to toss it over to Amanda. This is what hosts do. They keep the conversation going. Pay attention. So, oh God, it's so hard to have a puppet. I'm putting you back in your damn case. So it seems like they need to now you got me all my damn Amanda, what do you think? I can't freaking talk anymore.
That's how you throw it over.
You're pulling up Biden, David. You're getting flustered.
Puppets.
After I watched the debate, I watched the whole thing, and then I went immediately over to CNN, which I never do, but I was like, I need to see
100%.
what they're saying. Like, I'm curious if they're going to try to spin this in some sort of way or tell us, try to tell people the lies they've been telling for forever, which is that Biden is doing great. He's cognitively there and he doesn't have dementia, and, dispelling all of those rumors that we've all been seeing all along with our own eyes. And I was actually shocked by how forthright they were being about his performance. I was really shocked. I actually posted it on my Instagram. I was like, wow, the first time I've ever watched CNN where I'm like, yeah, I agree with that. But I mean, yeah, Biden did awful. I don't know if it was a plant to try to get him out of the running. It probably was another, manipulation tactic to try to just get him out of the race in some way. But either way, at least it shows people and it will help some people wake up to the fact that they've been lied to for a really long time. I don't know if he can get off the ballot at this point. I take everything with a grain of salt. I try to do my own research, and I saw a couple things about how in 3 states he might not be able to be taken off the ballot, even if they decide, in 3 swing states, even if they decide that they don't want him on anymore. I'm not sure how true that is. Maybe TJ can can tell us. But yeah, I thought CNN was finally being truthful. I was excited about it. I was happy with how the debate went.
Wow.
There's a first time for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hell has frozen over. TJ,
Yeah.
Can Biden be taken off I mean, is it too far too late? What do we do?
So I'm only a Kentucky and Ohio attorney in a few federal courts. So unfortunately, I'm not an attorney in any of the big swing states. Like, I'm probably not even going to see any presidential TV ads because I live in Kentucky, right? We all know where my state is going this election. That said, you can look this up, and there are cutoffs. And actually, for several states, the cutoffs have already come. So as of right now, they're stuck with Biden on those. you could see a legal challenge come and say that federal election law preempts, and therefore their conventions in August, you have to give them a chance to do their convention. I don't necessarily think that's going to. I don't know exactly how successful that could be, but also here's the problem: every second that they're focused on litigating that, that's a second that they could be spending campaigning. If I'm a Democrat strategist, I'm saying we are going full freight ahead on Joe Biden. Gonna suck, but I mean, frankly, that is their best chance because if you look at the polling numbers don't really show the other Democrats too far ahead of Joe Biden. They're really not out of every single one of the other options. And at that point, they create enough confusion in their own base. And further, you're going to wind up with the problem as well, where there is this cadre of individuals in the Democrat Party who are diehard Kamala Harris fans. So the question is, how do you replace Joe Biden without infuriating the Kamala Harris fans? Because Kamala Harris is one of the most unlikable human beings on the planet. So the moderates sure aren't going to go for Kamala Harris for president, right? So that's a double bind. They're screwed either way. Their best bet is to try to take the deficit that they're at and just go full steam ahead and try to catch up. I've seen crazier things happen in politics. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm rooting on their failure, so I do have a bit of a vested interest in being incorrect on that. But I don't see an avenue for an adequate replacement because you are going to there's a reason why, frankly, Donald Trump did everything in his power in 2016 to shore up the Ron Paul vote, because frankly, the Ron Paul vote could have flipped the 2012 election. But after the RNC screwed over Ron Paul to the point that they had to change the rules to keep him from potentially getting the nomination at convention, what did it do? All the people who would have voted for Ron Paul in the general either stayed home or voted for the Libertarian or voted for some other third party. They're going to run into that issue. And frankly, I think that replacing Joe Biden could very well lead to the death of the Democrat Party in the long run as well. Because, look, they've been around for so long, and they've been able to keep themselves alive by having a unity of the progressives and the moderates. They don't have that anymore. And switching Joe Biden out will pour gasoline on that fire already. Like, we've been able in the Republican Party to keep ourselves alive by creating a very good alliance with the Trump base, the Liberty base, the traditional conservatives. Like, that's really, especially when you look at who our RNC co-chairs are between Chairman Whatley and Chairwoman Lara Trump. That was a brilliant strategy. But frankly, I don't see any way that the Democratic Party keeps themselves together if they have to do a replacement. I think that it might be their best move in the short run, but in the long run, dear Lord, that could be the end of the party.
Well, it's optimistic, Puppet.
So, first of all, there's a reason why this debate happened before the convention. This whole thing is an op. You know, they knew that Joe Biden was they were either going to be able to pump him up full of whatever, get him out of the back to tank, week or two at Camp David and whatever else, blood transfusion, whatever they're doing to him over there, and put him on that stage with Trump. And either he was going to do well enough to get through the election or he wasn't. And if he wasn't, they were prepared for the flipperoo onslaught that they did that night. And now you can continually see, and CNN played it totally straight so that it can go one way or the other. And they had both, I'm sure they had both sides prepared. It's like a newspaper in the old days. They print, when a big election or a big sporting event, they had both sides printed, and it was just whichever one they were going to put out in the boxes, right? And that's what they had planned. That thing went off, and they turned on him immediately. I mean, I thought it was terrible, but Joe Biden's been that terrible for a long time. This is nothing new. So all of a sudden, they're just like, oh, he's terrible, and they just woke up to this. Come on, we all know that that's not the case. These people in the media know that he's had dementia. They know that he's been terrible for all this time. They've been hiding it. video after video after video they've been hiding, and now all of a sudden they come out after the debate like they're shocked, and then Tapper's over here doing this. I mean, the Mayorkas clip, in my opinion, is a lame clip compared to so many of the other clips where he's just really bad, like really, the wandering and the stuttering and the just that one wasn't even that bad on the Biden scale. Like this is obviously a planned action. We don't know where it's going yet. There's going to be a surprise at some point, maybe at the convention, maybe after the convention, but something's going on. The media and the party are never this far apart. They're not this far apart now. They're obviously the White House and everybody's like playing the game like, no, he's going to be of course, Gavin Newsom's like, obviously it's not even something to talk about. He's going to be the candidate. They're all playing that side of the field. The media is playing the other side of the field, priming the pump, getting the base okay with the fact that we need to make that a change needs to occur. And then, ta-da, a change is going to occur. And, they're just laying the groundwork. And at this point, the White House is still playing it cool. Like, yeah, this is fine. It's been fine. We're fine, because they can't admit right now that they've been lying this whole time, that he's like crazy. So this is just an out.
Look, I agree with TJ, what he's saying with the complexities from the political standpoint of replacing Joe Biden.
It's a nightmare.
I don't see how it's actually done. I think what you're seeing is, and I've said this before, I think what you're seeing play out is the people who control Biden pulls a little puppet strings. I think they want to keep Biden because they can do whatever they want when the cat's away, right? They can do whatever they want. And I think the party wants to get rid of Biden, but I don't think they're going to be able to. They might try, but I think TJ's right. It would destroy the Democratic Party. So, hell, let them try. That would be great for us. Trump is surging in the polls. He's going to do great. They can't put him in jail anymore, thanks to the Supreme Court. So I think whether it is an op, it's going to fail like everything else they've tried to do. It is very fascinating, though, and it's something that I guess we'll continue to talk about. Now, by the way.
But maybe replacing him isn't the goal. I don't know what the actual goal is.
Just, and you know what? I think my theory is, and I said this the other day, I think they're pretty much just preparing that Trump's going to win the election. They know he's going to win at this point, and now they're like, screw it, let's save our face, like somebody said before. I forget who it was. It was either TJ or Puppet. I forget when we even said it. Somebody said it, that now they – oh, no, Heather. I don't care. I don't know who said it. But the point is, earlier, somebody said that now they have to save their face and admit the truth. And maybe that's what they're doing. They know Trump's going to win. They've just given up at this point. But I do have exclusive footage behind the scenes.
If it was good, I said it.
Look,
that's how it works.
Oh, and it covers you up. So this is actually a double bonus. I have exclusive behind the scenes. This was a picture from Camp David. It might be classified. I don't know, but it was released, so I guess it's unclassified. This is actually it's purported. That's the word you're supposed to use when you don't know if it's true or not. It's purported to be Joe Biden in a Bacta tank in Camp David. This was leaked. I don't know where they got it from, but it was sent to me, and I'm sharing it with you. This is maybe they need a new one.
If you turn that around, he shit his pants. That's how you know it's Biden.
Well, possibly. And then they were getting ready to unveil Biden's presidential portrait. And they were waiting until the end of his administration. This is the best they have so far. They're working on it. I hear there are similarities, but I don't know. So we'll see what happens.
Much like those Trudeau-Castro photos next to each other, that one has an uncanny resemblance.
So real quick, I got 5 minutes left in the show. Let's talk about some weather fake news. I'm going to play a couple of quick clips. I'm going to come out of them before they're over, but I want you to see. Guys, get afraid. Get very afraid. Climate change is coming.
35 Storm Team meteorologist Jessica Dobson, and I wanted to bring you a quick update, not only of our forecast, which we'll get to in a moment, but of the tropics, because they have been heating up and picking up over the last couple of weeks. And what we've been tracking here over the last 48 hours or so, if not more, has been Hurricane Beryl, and it has rapidly intensified. It is back up to a strong Category 4 hurricane, about 7 miles per hour shy of a Category 5 hurricane, and it has moved over the Windward Islands, where it made landfall a little earlier this morning at around 11:10 a.m. So you can see just that buzz
this time of year, and it just keeps getting stronger. I don't even think Cat 5 is off the table.
No, I mean, we're within shouting distance, as you mentioned already. It wouldn't take much, and a lot of that is based on the structural changes that we've seen just over the last 18 hours or so. That eye wall replacement cycle, which happened quickly and in a very effective way through the overnight period, that new eye tightened back up and got even stronger than this storm was prior.
So they are on hype mode all day long, and TJ had to go. Make sure you go and follow TJ Roberts over on X. They are hyping everybody up here. I mean, this is like unprecedented, right? I mean, don't we have hurricanes every year? Why this year, all of a sudden, is it climate change hurricanes and not just regular hurricanes? Amanda?
This is the first time I'm even hearing about this hurricane, which is terrible because I live in Florida, so I really should be more savvy to the hurricanes going on. So they're blaming climate change for how fast it's picking up.
Yeah, so you didn't know there was a hurricane out there? Like Florida?
I heard there was a hurricane, but we hear about that all the time in Florida, so I don't really get worked up about it. Honestly.
Wow. Yeah, well, so there's a hurricane, and I don't really care. But if you turn on any news channel, they're like, oh my gosh, this rapid intensification, this is unprecedented. It's really not, but it's it's climate change. Heather, is the world ending?
No, it's not. Hurricane season happens in various parts of the globe. Our region in Florida typically is between June and November. That is when we get hurricanes. And I am a new Floridian, and I know this because where I'm from, we have fire season, which they are trying to blame. I'm from California.
Climate change.
It's all because what it's because of is the fact that PG&E, the local energy company that's in cahoots with Newsom, hasn't been doing their due diligence of trimming back the brush. So anytime there's a fire in California, it all goes up in flames. Just like every time in Florida or Texas or Louisiana, this time of year comes, I don't plan a cruise for the Caribbean.
Yeah, it's important to trim back the brush.
You always got to trim the bush. Yeah, you know what? Let me tell you.
Puppet, the brush.
Oh, the brush.
The brush. So here's the deal.
12 hurricanes.
I think the climate change is causing people to burn their campfires and cause wildfires. That's what it is in California, right? Or the electrical cables falling. That's climate change too.
True, sure.
Puppet, how is the MyPillow that you're stuffed with dealing with all of this climate change?
Well, the MyPillow is fire retardant. First of all,
I always knew you were retarded.
Yeah, that's why I'm retardant, because I got a MyPillow in my head, and it's fire resistant, so that works. But there have been 12 hurricanes and tropical storms in June, named storms in June throughout history. And actually, in 1966, there was a Category 3 in early June. Was one of the earliest major hurricanes on record. So, the thing about climate change, and a lot of people be like, you Republicans, you conservatives don't believe in climate change. I actually 100% believe in climate change. Well, I can tell you with certainty, the climate changes. It's always changed, and it's continuing to change. It's changing now. It was changing before. It will change later, beyond our time, because that's what it does. It changes. I'm not denying that climate changes. I'm denying the fact that A, it's a man-made issue, and B, that the results and the response and the reality of it is as bad as they make it seem to be, and that the response that they want to take in response to the changes in the climate that are natural and ongoing, that the things that they want to do are crazy and destructive to our society, our way of life. And I think that's crazy. It's really just a grift, a way to move money from one place to another so that they can enrich the people that they want to enrich. And that is really what climate change is all about. It has nothing to do with actual climate changing, which does, but has been for eons and will be long beyond us.
Taxes will stop climate change. All you got to do is start taxing people.
Well, of course. Yeah, that makes sense.
That'll save the world. Yeah, so be careful, guys. Climate change, hurricanes. I was really impressed with you popping out some facts there, Puppet. For a second, you didn't see so dummy.
I'm not as dumb as I'm not as dumb as you look.
Yeah.
So, it's good.
Anyway, guys, don't forget, go get your Raised Right books. and go read to your kids. They miss you. And you'll get some great messages in there, so go check it out. RaisedRightBooks.org. Right, Amanda?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so
Thank
go
you,
check
David.
it out. Heather, thank you for joining. Puppet, thanks for coming out of your trunk to hang out with us. That's
Always a
all we
pleasure.
have for tonight. We'll be back next week as always. Guys, if you haven't got enough of us yet, which I don't know freaking how you haven't got enough of us yet, but if you haven't got, but maybe you want to hang out with Amanda, maybe you want to hang out with Heather, maybe I don't think you want to hang out with
You can
Puppet.
say it. You can say it because they
What?
do.
What?
They want to hang out with the puppet.
No, nobody wants to hang out
Yes,
with you.
they do.
No, they do. They feel awkward because you're there and you're looking at them and you're plush.
And
but
I
you're
don't
not
blink.
Cute. They don't do. Anyway, if you want to hang out with us, we're going to X and hanging out in the X space. And we're going to continue this conversation until I get bored and tired. And so if you want to go over to X and hang out with us, we'll be there. Amanda, you joining us? I think you're already
I'll
there.
be there.
I think you were
What?
there, and then you're in the space.
I know. I've already been there, but I'll be there again.
So how was it? Was it all right? Was it good?
Yeah, it was looking good to me.
All right, we're going to go back. Heather, we'll see you over
a
there.
good
Papa, we'll
space.
see you over there. All right,
All right,
everybody,
guys.
thanks for joining. And again, we'll see you next week. And what do you say about the fleece puppet?
Hey, Puppet Nation, the flea stops here.
There you go.